All so much for your patience. We call this meeting to order of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, Tuesday, October 10th at 6:31 p.m. So let us move to our Pledge of Allegiance. And actually, Trustee Johannes, I'll go ahead and have you lead us today. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move to roll call.
Student Trustee Masson,
Here.
Trustee Withrow,
Here.
Trustee Johannes,
Yes, here.
Gonzalez Hewen.
He's here. He's walking up to the dais.
Thank you. Trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Here.
Trustee Quinlan,
Present.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And I am pulling up our affirmation of the statement of cooperation. My computer decided to suddenly restart. Yeah. Okay. The Peralta Board has adopted a statement of cooperation that codifies our commitment to set the bar for excellence in governance and community college leadership and to lead by example for our Peralta colleges. The full statement of cooperation is attached to this agenda, but in summary, we have committed to build trust and seek to understand each other, to be prepared and follow good governance and ethical protocols, and model the behavior we want others to exhibit. We therefore commit to honoring and upholding these commitments in words and in action. Thank you, Trustee Johannes. Let's move to 3.5, action of a report of action taken in closed session. Oh. Give it just a minute, folks.
Look at that.
Appears that we're all having technological issues up here. We come back to this or?
No,
Okay, you got it? Okay, great. Okay, thank you for your patience, folks.
Yeah, come on.
You want us to come back to VP Quinlan?
Let's see if it works this time. Yes, there we go.
Okay, great, thank you.
Closed session readout. On a motion by trustees Gonzalez Ewan and seconded by VP Quinlan, the board voted unanimously to approve the settlement agreement for case number 23-CV-025722. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, VP Quinlan. Let's go ahead and move to 3.6, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Discussion, roll call?
I'm sorry, I did not catch who the second was.
It was motioned by Trustee Withrow and seconded by Trustee Gonzalez Yuan.
Thank you, ma'am. Student Trustee Masson,
Yes.
Trustee Withrow,
Yes.
Trustee Johannes,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Hewen.
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice,
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Let's move to 3.7, approval of the minutes.
Move approval.
Thank you, Trustee Withrow. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Johannes. Discussion, roll call.
Student trustee Masson,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Napola Villeries,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Let's move to 3.8, Associated Student Government Reports. Do we have anybody with us tonight?
Yes, I'm Christian with the Associated Students of Berkeley City College. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here again. So ASBCC met last week on Thursday for the 9th time this week, I believe, or this semester, I believe. Among meaningful discussions about material from BCC committees, we approved 2 new ping pong tables that will stay in the BCC atrium, which we are hoping will increase student engagement on campus and for clubs to use. So that's quite exciting. The ASBCC board so far has proven to be a very active one with lots of voting participation, which is a pretty huge relief. We're definitely hoping to keep the campus as lively as it has been these past few weeks throughout the semester by hosting fun events and activities. So yeah. On to new news. BCC is having a clothing drive sort of thing where students can donate and receive free clothes from our Basic Needs Center on campus. So that should be a pretty big boost to student engagement and resources here on campus. Our BCC Undocumented Resource Center is hosting a Student Action Week next week from October 16th to the 20th. And also we have Latinx Heritage Month still happening. So today we held live music and a speaker to talk about his undocumented journey in the atrium. And on Thursday, we will be hosting tacos and live music in downtown Berkeley, which will be quite exciting. And I believe that concludes my report. Thank you all.
Thank you. Do you have anyone else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move to 3.9, the Peralta Classified Senate Report.
Hi, good evening, Board President Delphine Polk, our Board of Trustees, Chancellor Jackson, PCTV colleagues, our students and community members. Again, my remarks tonight will be brief. We have no campus reports from our senates. And so I'd like to talk about a couple of related issues that we had in our monthly meeting with our chancellor, and then a related topic on that. So in our last monthly meeting with Chancellor Jackson, there was a lot of banter back and forth regarding the sort of inordinate amount of time it takes to approve contracts and the time it takes to pay our vendors. In some cases, it was pointed out by our classified professionals that even our preferred vendors are sometimes no longer honoring our purchase orders. And this has really seriously impacted our ability to conduct business. It was acknowledged that this has been an ongoing systemic issue for years, as is our desire to remedy our internal workflows. Because there is no easy answer and the hard answer is still being sussed out, we at least had the opportunity to convey some frustrations to Chancellor Jackson. We learned that there is a task force that's looking at these and related matters, but it's not yet obvious how the Senate can insert itself as part of the solution. We plan on returning to these topics because they are important as we strive for a healthier and robust business processes. And so while I and many others have heard complaints about PeopleSoft, because a lot of times PeopleSoft is sort of being pointed at as sort of the barrier. I'd like to propose that PeopleSoft isn't our main problem. In fact, PeopleSoft is highly regarded and recognized as, for its modularity and its customizability, and can almost certainly satisfy our technology needs in the realm of a student information management system. Our issue is communication. So I'd like to just back up about a year and remind you all that based on the agreement between SEIU and district management, a remote work policy was supposed to be developed through the shared governance process. AP 7900 was reported on at the last board meeting. The classified Senate reworked the document that was originally drafted by Human Resources and then was ultimately reworked by the Senate and submitted through the shared governance channels, that being reviewed and modified by the chancellor, and then it went over to PGC, and eventually it was approved in May. The Senate acknowledges that that our portion of the work took longer than expected, but it was handed off in late February. Part of the handoff actually included extra credit by the Senate subcommittee that worked on this, and that the extra credit was to develop a near final form mock-up with language and form fields that can be used to develop the actual e-form. And this e-form is to live in PeopleSoft and serve as the application for classified professionals and administrators to fill out and then submit for consideration for remote work. So last month, the Senate was advised that the e-form is now being developed in conjunction with IT. Very good news. But in last week's district technology committee, IT indicated that they do not yet have an understanding of the project scope and confessed to not having knowledge of the sample form that the Senate submitted. So as you can likely understand, this is rather disappointing for us. For some yet unexplained reason, Human Resources and IT seem to have had inadequate communication on this small but important project. And that is basically just, again, to implement a form in PeopleSoft. So we're talking about a fairly straightforward form with a dozen or so fields and agreement and expectation language. Sure, the union might want to remind themselves of the agreed upon time frame for implementation, but the Senate would like to know what we can do to facilitate it getting done sooner than later. We're in mid-October now. We have program managers and programmers in our ranks with the requisite skills well beyond what it takes, what would be necessary to implement this e-form. So in fact, from the Senate's perspective, and I will say from the Senate's pragmatic perspective, we would have expected that the e-form would have been a work in progress sometime even during the summer, so that once the administrative procedure, that being 7900, was completely vetted, approved, and posted that the e-form could accordingly be touched up and final edits ready for prime time and ready to be utilized. The bottom line is that the Senate is keenly aware that things don't ordinarily move as fast as we'd like them to. But the worrisome component here is that needed information is seemingly not being provided, or the straightforward questions are just not being asked. If it wasn't for a couple of us classified professionals who attended last week's district technology meeting who raised the question on the status of the remote work policy, it's really hard to predict when the scope of the work would be realized by IT and the work would actually begin, because it seems like the work actually hasn't started yet. Again, the issue I'm talking about is less technological and even less about resources. It's really about good communication. Our issues with contracts and not paying our vendors on time is really about communication. Many colleges and those in the business world use PeopleSoft successfully. What we need to focus on at Peralta is how to better communicate. Ignoring queries from colleagues is not the way. Passing the buck is not the way. Clear and honest communication and asking questions is the way. Otherwise, we run the risk of isolation, of not being able to serve our students because our community partners don't want to or can't do business with us. So the Senate will exercise patience. We will come back to these important business matters, and we hope to report on progress to correct our business practices sooner than later, and hopefully starting with finalizing the implementation of our remote work AP and accompanying application. So with that, I will leave you and have a pleasant evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and move to the District Academic Senate report. We have President Goldstein in the boardroom.
Thanks, Madam President. Thanks, folks. I'm Matthew Goldstein. I'm president of the District Academic Senate, as you've heard. Tonight, I'd like to sketch the history of the event that was hosted here a couple of weeks ago, the celebration of emeritus employees. And then I'd like to give a couple of updates about recent DAS actions and projects that will come before the board in the next weeks and months. So I'm offering this history lesson tonight because I didn't get the chance to give the history lesson at the event itself on September 26th. It was an oversight at the district office, I understand, that led to leaving out faculty and staff in the planning for the event. And while an FAS email went out with a save the date Outlook announcement for the date, no effort was made to reach out directly to the leadership of the faculty or the Senate for this important event. And the reason that I want to call attention to it, and what I regard as sort of a particularly shameful oversight, is that the idea for the emeritus celebration came out of the faculty ranks and from a respected retiree of Peralta. So the granting of formal emeritus status was the brainchild of Debbie Weintraub, who for years co-chaired the Laney English department and then served, I believe, 2.5 terms as PFT president. She's currently the president of the Peralta Retirees organization, which folks know represents faculty, staff, and administrators in their retirement. Before she retired in 2011, Debbie had this idea to figure out some kind of official way to recognize Peralta employees who had helped build the colleges and the central office as well. So through the early part of her retirement and her first term as pro-president, she worked with then Chancellor Joël Laguerre on developing what would become AP 7800. This was probably in about 2015 or so. And while the ultimate AP that was developed is an imperfect representation of Debbie's vision, I say it's imperfect because, for example, college presidents and chancellors are eligible for emeritus status after 3 years, whereas faculty and staff serve a full decade. I'll say that Debbie, as a longtime community college leader and faculty leader in particular, is pretty clear-eyed about this stuff and understands perhaps better than anybody how the sausage gets made. So that's all to say that 7800 was finally approved in 2018. And there was at least one kind of false start, one effort to try to confer emeritus status since it was approved in 2018. But then at last, on September 26th, this event was held. There was, I should acknowledge, a lead up to the event that was properly followed, or that properly followed the terms of AP 78. It was really the planning, such as it was for the celebration, where the ball was fumbled. So let me say that my understanding is the event was very nice on the 26th. I hear it went well, that honorees were pleased with the way it went. And had I known about it, had PFT known about it, had SEIU or the Classified Senate known about it, they certainly would have liked to have official representation there to extend congratulations to the emeriti. And I understand that Trustee Quinlan spoke on behalf of faculty. So we thank Trustee Quinlan for stepping into the breach there. In any case, I want to let folks know that I had conversations with the chancellor, with the deputy chancellor, with several board members about this, and it was an oversight. I think it's clear that there was no malice intended, but I think we can agree that the episode suggests familiar defects in the Peralta system at large, and these are defects that we need to address. I've been assured that the district will plan and work hard to make sure that it doesn't happen next time and that all constituent groups will be involved. So I look forward to that. So speaking of working hard and planning, I wanted to apprise the board of the activities of the DAS that will be brought before you in the weeks to come. So at our October 17th DAS meeting, we took our first pass at the budget planning calendar, and you'll be unsurprised to hear that the likely draft that you'll see presently will be pretty aggressive and will push things up sooner. It will also call for documents to be submitted to the review committees that are more robust and more developed, let's say, than what we've seen in the past, and that the committees have ample time to actually review them and they're not asked to simply sign off on them due to deadline pressures. Another DAS-led effort that trustees can look forward to receiving in the days ahead are the recommendations from the Ad Hoc Advisory Committee on Enrollment Management. You've heard a little bit about this before, I know, but I wanted to remind folks that the Ad Hoc Committee will make recommendations that will be based on research and the district's own data that will help us, we hope, to help meet student demand more effectively, to do some cross-campus coordination on scheduling itself, and on a number, excuse me. I think my double shot of flu vaccine and COVID vaccine is catching up with me. So thanks very much. So the recommendations of the Enrollment Management Committee, or the Ad Hoc Advisory Enrollment Management Committee, will be coming before you. Our hope is that there'll be more strategic suggestions, that they won't simply be kind of an averaging of the last several years of enrollment data and then a repositing of those same averages. And our hope, again, is that we can do more thoughtful and future-looking enrollment management that will help us meet our goals. So thanks very much. I apologize for that coughing fit mid-talk, and look forward to working with you in the days ahead.
Thank you. So now let's go ahead and move to 3.11, public communication on matters that are not on the agenda.
First up, I have Terrell.
If your name is called, please go ahead and step up to the podium or raise your hand on Zoom. Let's go ahead and move to the next speaker, please.
Next, we have Richard Thole.
Good evening. My name is Richard Thole, President for Peralta's SEIU 1021. It's great to see a full board here and in person. I'm a little bit late, I guess, in welcoming, the full board, but it's good to see everybody here. I want to start first by acknowledging our college presidents for, a few of them having consistent meeting with us and want to invite the other ones to reconnect and, have a, ongoing communication, so that it's very helpful in touching base and communicating issues at the lowest local level before, issues do, get out of hand. I want to also acknowledge VC McKinley. I think he's brought some stability and some consistency, at least with our dealings with HR. And so I want to acknowledge you as well. I wanted to start off on a positive note. Not going too negatively. I just want to share what I shared the other day in a district facilities committee meeting. We're aware, and the district is aware, and it looks like they are attempting to address leaks in several of our buildings. It just seems there needs to be a higher level of urgency when that's happening. I just visited Laney today, where we had one of our members had to evacuate one of her office. And I'll show you the video later. I'll email you all the videos and the pictures, but you have leaks that are coming from seemingly the pipes. And I thought maybe it was from the rain or the sprinkles that we had last night, but it was relayed that it may be a sewer leak, so they had to evacuate the area because you have a pool of water on the floor, you have trash cans that are collecting water. And my comments the other day were just that there needs to be a level of urgency, because we've been talking about roof repairs and leaks for several years. And I'm not saying that nothing's being done about it, but there just needs to be some urgency because we can't have our members, I could send you pictures from last year where we have members working with buckets over their heads, wedged in between pipes, some of them having to relocate themselves, some of them having to ask to be relocated, some of them staying there and dealing with the issue. For me, I think the larger issue is for the students. I was a student. I went to East Los Angeles Community College. I had to take classes at other colleges to be able to transfer. And I know the impact of going from a campus that is in need of facility repairs to one that is almost immaculate. It's a different sense of belonging. It's a different sense of welcoming. And I think some of our colleges are in need of that. Facilities, are a big issue, whether inside the classroom or outside the classroom, whether it be, I could give several examples, but I'll leave it there. So those need to be addressed. And, there was a comment that some of those leaks, we might have to wait till the rain season starts and then kind of identify where the rain's coming from. I understand that, but we can't have our members working in those conditions, and we can't have students, trying to learn in those conditions. So I'm just bringing that to this, to this meeting. The other thing too is, we're in contract negotiations. We've been in it for, I don't know, over a year, maybe a year and a half. So our contract is open right now. That's not an ideal situation. So just, to put it on everybody's radar, as we approach 2025, once we settle this contract, you know, we should be engaging in contract negotiations before our contract actually expires, right? Not waiting until it expires and then going a year and a half. Because since then, we've filed an unfair labor practice, and we filed actually two. We won one. So on some of the facilities, at every facility, there should be some posted language saying
10 seconds.
that the district did violate ed code by not supplying requested information, you know, in our attempt to duly represent our members. So we filed another one, and we hope not to continue to file those. But it's not an ideal situation to have an open contract and have union members, you know, or union representatives filing unfair labor practices. It's not ideal for any side. So with that, have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then really quickly, Dr. Droker, can you have Chancellor Jackson look at that leak and have IVC Smith look at that as soon as possible? Thank you. Do we have any additional speakers?
No, Madam President. That is
Okay.
it.
Okay, thank you all very much. Let's go ahead and move to 3.12, the Chancellor's reports, and I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Droker.
Thank you so much, President Delphine Polk. I'd like to first invite Vice Chancellor McKinley to make a special announcement.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm very happy to announce, as you know, Chancellor Jackson can't be here this evening, but has asked us to announce that the board has approved the appointment of Dr. Denise Richardson as the president of Berkeley City College. Well-deserved, and that will be officially ratified at the October 24th board meeting. So congratulations.
Congratulations. And now I'd like to welcome her into the permanent fold by inviting her to Denise to please speak on behalf of Berkeley City College.
Good evening, Deputy Chancellor Droker, Board President Deanna Delphine Polk, trustees, colleagues, students, and members of the community. On September 28th, Berkeley City College hosted a very successful transfer fair. We had representatives from 40 universities. This included in-state, out-of-state, public, and private institutions. I would like to give a special thank you to our transfer coordinator, Andrea Williams, whose thoughtful planning and coordination made this event the big success that it was. On September 28th and 29th, I had the privilege of attending the Excellencia in Education Conference in Washington, D.C. One of the many noteworthy and inspiring things that I learned is that closing the achievement gap for underrepresented students is not only possible, it is happening. There are colleges in Texas and in Chicago that have totally eliminated the student success and graduation rate gaps between Latino and white students. The methods they shared were innovative, but mostly they were data-informed, consistent, and intentional. So, of course, I left inspired to bring these approaches back home. This morning, BCC's Dean of Math and Science and Career Education, Chris Lewis, and I had the privilege of attending the Bear Creating the Future of Biotech event at their Berkeley headquarters. BCC is part of the new sponsorship agreement between Bear and the City of Berkeley, and we're also working with community partners on a project funded through the Bear Community College Sponsorship Agreement to increase access to biotechnology, academic, and work-based training for former Berkeley High School students now attending BCC. These students are from low-income families and other groups that historically have been underrepresented in STEAM careers. BCC currently has BCC has 9 students participating this fall, and we hope to have 8 placed in paid internships with Bear this academic year. One of the wonderful things about Berkeley City College is that there is always something to celebrate. This week, we continue our Latinx Heritage Month with the series of events provided in our printed board newsletter. Today, I had the privilege of hearing Julio Salgado, whose presentation was entitled Undocumented and Unapologetic. Julio is a successful artist who uses bright, colorful imagery to provide political commentary and to amplify the experiences of undocumented people in this country. And on Monday, we will kick off Undocumented Student Action Week with yet another lineup of informative and exciting programs and speakers. I would like to extend a welcome to the Board of Trustees and to everyone here to please see our board report and attend these events. That concludes my report for Berkeley City College. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll continue on alphabetical order. We'll go with College of Alameda and then Laney and Merritt.
Good evening, President Delphine Polk, trustee members, Deputy Chancellor, colleagues, and community members. I'll keep my report really short. It has been a very busy 2 weeks for College of Alameda since we last met, with several events to celebrate the Latinx Heritage Month, and also to reflect and dig a little bit deeper on issues of intersectionality and equity, with several workshops on disability justice, health and wellness, equity and access. However, for tonight, I would like to focus on the power of community partnerships and highlight 2 events. One is in the document in front of you. It's a participation of a team of 8 from College of Alameda in the Alameda Economic Forecast event, which was extremely successful. Keynote speaker, Chris Thornburg, he is the founding partner at Beacon Economics, gave a very insightful presentation on economic landscape for City of Alameda, Bay Area, and overall for the US economy. Attorney General Rob Bonda was present, and he had a really useful presentation on business security in California. Several business partners were present. We're honored to have Trustee Withrow with the team of 8 at COA. The other event that I want to highlight, and we'll give more details in the upcoming board meeting, was the 31st annual citywide college night held at College of Alameda. This 31st annual citywide college night, it is a collaboration between AUSD, St. Joseph Notre Dame High School, and College of Alameda. And it took place on October 4. It was really nice to see the gym full of colleges and students. 50 colleges participated. Among those colleges, US Coast Guard Academy and the Marines, creating a valuable opportunity for hundreds of local students. So it was AUSD students, College of Alameda students, more than 350 students attended. Really interesting to see there our own programs, such as AMT, MESA, Diesel Mechanics, College to Career, Veterans Resource Center, EOPS, and our sister college, Berkeley City College, has a table there working with us. So this was very valuable outreach information, meeting with AUSD colleagues and also with all the schools around the state. So, and this concludes tonight's report. Thank you.
Good evening, Deputy Chancellor Droker, Board President Delphine Polk, members of the governing board, colleagues in education, and of course, our valued students and community members. I'd like to go ahead and actually start with a point of personal privilege this evening and extend my warmest congratulations to my former Laney College colleague, Dr. Denise Richardson. I think that Berkeley City College is going to be in very good hands under her leadership, and I certainly appreciate her. Wanted to give you a quick update on enrollment in advance of late starting classes, which begin this coming Monday, 50 plus sections of them. We stand at just north of 95% of our enrollment target and look forward to seeing where we end up. And per our year-to-date data, we still remain 8 to 9% ahead of where we were a year ago at this time. So it's good to see those consistent enrollment numbers. The community is invited tomorrow night as Laney College puts on its Laney College Celebrates Manufacturing event. It is from 5 p.m. until 8:30. And it begins in the lower G area with a tiny home ribbon cutting. If you've walked ever by our lower wing and the breezeway, you will see the construction of the tiny homes. And we will actually be cutting the ribbon on one of those. And that event will be followed by a forum or style discussion on advanced manufacturing in the Laney College Forum, which is on the other side of the campus. I'd like to send a big shout out to all of our colleagues in carpentry, wood technology, and all of our building and skilled trades. Just just for a great event that's about to happen, and we hope you can make it. This has been a month of a lot of events at Laney College, most of which have taken place on the quad. And just to be consistent, I've also put handouts for each of you on the dais, and a couple of things that I'll highlight. First of all, next week, we celebrate Undocumented Student Action Week, and I want to thank Arandi Garcia with our Undocumented Community Resource Center, which is on the second floor of the tower, for putting these events together, which actually kick off with a fireside chat on Monday, the 16th. Also, yesterday at Laney College, on the quad, we had our transfer fair with over 30 colleges from around the United States showing up and braving the raindrops on the quad as they offered a lot of information to our students who are interested in transferring. And I have to say that Cynthia Tang and Laura Ramos with our transfer center and have done a great job putting this on under the leadership of Dean Diane Chang, as well as Vice President Marlon Hall. And to further engage our Cal State partners, the second page of the handouts I left you contains information about a visit with Cal State East Bay that has already passed, and then upcoming visits from San Francisco State to the Laney College campus. These events take really the collaboration and the hard work of a lot of colleagues on our campus, and I am surely grateful for that. This concludes my report.
All right. Good evening, Deputy Chancellor Droker, President Delphine Polk, Board of Trustees, colleagues, and community members. This is the President's report for Merritt College. In addition to the $350,000 grant award that you all approved a little earlier tonight, so thank you for that. Merritt College was awarded a grant recently from the Rising Scholars Network for the purpose of providing instruction and wraparound services for incarcerated youth. And that grant will provide us with $1.5 million over the next 5 years and enable college to implement in-person on-site assistance with enrollment, student ed plans, counseling, tutoring, and exit planning and instruction. And our primary objective with this grant is going to be to provide pathways for these young men and women to obtain either degrees or seed certificates so that they have the support, knowledge, and inspiration to continue their forward momentum. These are students who want to find a different way, a better way, and we aim to help them do that. Along with the Herculean efforts of one Miss Bianca Perazzo, she was really the steam that powered this dream. She's the chair of our COSA program. This partnership with the juvenile facility is the result of a coordinated effort between Street Scholars and several other entities, including Project Rebound, the Underground Scholars at UC Berkeley, and Oakland's Youth Employment Partnership. So we're very pleased about that. In addition, I want to share that last Thursday, well, 2 Thursdays ago, Thursday, September 28th, we had our last IEPI visit. That's the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative. The team from IEPI came, and the meeting really provided an opportunity for us to review the strategies of our IEPI grant work plan, which focuses primarily on strengthening professional development for classified professional staff members and building pathways for their growth and advancement. But one of the interesting takeaways that the team, a visiting team, noted was nearly 2/3 of our classified staff at Merritt College started off as students at Peralta in general and Merritt in particular, and they were really struck by that. They shared that in their collective experience that this dynamic was really unique to Merritt, and how this was critical to shaping and strengthening the commitment of our classified professionals to the college. So we want to thank the IEPI resource team for their constructive feedback and support, and we look forward to continuing our efforts to implement the IEPI grant. And finally, I'm going to join my colleague, President Besikoff, in congratulating. I feel like I just got a job. So I am very, very pleased and very, very proud and very, very happy. I'm not going to tear up on camera, but I'm just ecstatic that Berkeley City College is going to get an amazing person as their president. So I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's great to hear of all the great work happening at our campuses. So appreciate your efforts and congratulations, Dr. Richardson. Let's go ahead and move to presentation and action. 4.1, approval of board goals for 2023-24.
Madam President,
Yes.
just a point of personal privilege. I'd like to also just note that among our four presidents right now, we have 3 former faculty members. And that's a really big deal here. It means that we're doing something right to train faculty members in administration and then really retain them in the district. So thank you for your service and for making yourself exactly the people that we want in those chairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move to our first presentation, 4.1, approval of board goals for 23-24. Do we have Dr. Miles and or Dr. Benjamin on Zoom?
Dr. Benjamin is signing on as we speak, so please just give her 1 minute.
Dr. Benjamin, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, awesome. Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. As you know, in your last meeting, we spent considerable time going over your goals. You gave me feedback on what we had. And so what I've tried to do in the document before you, if Sasha would put it on the screen, please, is to incorporate the changes you made in those. What I thought I heard you say, they're in red and I have strikeouts so that you could see. And I'm hoping you had an opportunity to look through those, or we can walk through them, not every single one, the ones where the changes are, but so that you can finalize these tonight. These would be your goals for this year, 2023-24, July 1 of this year to June 30 of next year. And these are the ones on which you'd evaluate yourself at the end of the year. So what is your pleasure?
So
I tried to reflect everything I thought I heard you say.
No, thank you, Dr. Benjamin. I just want to be very clear because we want to make sure that everyone understands what these goals are for. Can you quickly go over that?
Yes, yes, I think we started in your retreat in July on these. And we just we didn't go word for word through these. We talked about what you would like to do. And then each of you gave me on a card a specific thing you wanted to happen. And that is what I incorporated there. And then last month I incorporated. And also we went through some that you thought you had achieved. That's where you see the strikeouts, or we changed the language, or all the new language is in red. So that's where we are with these. And whatever you do tonight, we're hoping you will approve as your goals for the next year. And then I'll clean them up for the next time so that they are shown without the red and the strikeouts.
Thank you. Colleagues, do you have any specific questions or comments around any of these? We can start at the top.
Wow.
Trustee Reese, go ahead.
I'm looking at key actions for board goal 1, and I think that reflects much that we talked about, and thank you for adding the new ACC-JC standard for modification. So
Right.
goal 1 to me seems good. I don't know how you all feel.
Colleagues, how are we feeling about it? I'm seeing some nodding heads. Good, thumbs up. Okay, fantastic. Anybody else? Anything else? I do appreciate under D, receive and review detailed reports on results of marketing strategies. I know that that was something that we had talked about.
Yes.
Going out in other languages, especially. I think that's really great. I'm happy to see that included so well.
So what I want to, first of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Benjamin for helping us in this process. I actually see these as important substantive goals for us as a board. And I think over the last 2 years, this board has become a really a high functioning board with a lot of substantive discussion. We're not a rubber stamp board. We're not a board that is in conflict with the administration either. And I think that's actually really important. I think the partnership has been critical. And I'll just say that under the section on board effectiveness, I think this board struggles, and maybe this is true for all boards. This board struggles with finding the balance between accountability and support. And part of that has to do with the high levels of turnover within the administration. It's very difficult to kind of like get on board with a new administration and then put out goals and then see those goals either succeed or fail, but then not really having the ability to really hold an administration accountable or to congratulate an administration because of that. I think that one of the things that we need to be thoughtful about is, what does that mechanism actually look like? How do we provide support for a chancellor, our chancellor, the chancellor we hire, while also being really serious about these goals, and then where these goals aren't being met, as a learning institution, trying to figure out how not that we're pointing fingers, but that we're learning and saying, we're not quite missing it. 2 points, that you could look at real clearly are the ongoing kind of budget deficit structures that we seem to be having, and our enrollment goals. We just like not making it. But it's not clear to me as a trustee what our theory of the problem is or what our theory of change is. And so it means when we look at this, key actions, I think that actually needs to be fleshed out a bit. I'm not suggesting we do anything different in this document. I'm fine with this document, but I want us to take this as a real serious document that we come back to and engage in constructive discussion that doesn't seem like it's fighting within the board or an attack on the administration, and that if questions are raised from the dais, it's not seen as we're not being cooperative or supportive of the board, but that we're actually doing our job representing the public. And finding that tone and balance, I think, is really critical. I think among us as colleagues, that's going to be a real interesting challenge that I look forward to. So, Dr. Benjamin, thank you again for helping us through this process. I know we are sometimes a contentious bunch. Not me, of course, but my colleagues, and you've done a good job of wrangling them. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Reese?
So I thought we were going to go through each board goal, but if we go to board goal 4, which I believe is effectiveness, would love to get your sense of maybe how we could be more effective as a board. Because my colleague to my left here just raised some questions and some interesting questions and fodder for conversation for sure. However, it is difficult. It's difficult to keep administrators, and it's difficult to have that accountability. and it's difficult for boards to also realize where their boundaries are. And so given your macro perspective, Dr. Benjamin, and kind of what you see, and having been a chancellor before, and also having been a trustee at the university level before, help us get to that middle ground. I remember asking the FICMAP person at one point in time, how do we get that kind of trust and verification? And her response was, that is the difficult part of being a board, because if you continue to kind of go down that road, you inadvertently get into the weeds, which gets into the operations, which gets you into trouble. And so, and you also lose good administrators that way as well. So it is that balance that is not the same, or it's a level of understanding about a balance that is not the same for all trustees, for sure. But what are your suggestions for us in order?
Yes, thank you. As I reflect just quickly on just my time with you, which I think now has been maybe 4 years, you have had, if I'm remembering correctly, 3 different persons in the chancellor position as chancellor, acting chancellor, interim chancellor, interim chancellor. And you've had, I don't know how many different board members, and a lot of change at the very top. But as you reflect on it, you know that the board has come a long way in its I think you've grown, and some of it was forced because of accreditation issues, but there has been a huge change in the way you even interact with each other. I think from those of us who've been around and paying attention. So despite the fact that there has been instability in the chancellor position and some instability within the board itself, and what you need, I think, is stability at the top. You've got board members in now. It feels to me as though these board members will possibly be there for a while. And you're about to get a new chancellor. You have focused on issues that were very, very challenging for you, one of which was delegating authority to the chancellor. I think you've grown a lot in that area. There seems to be more trust than there was, at least when I started with you anyway. And there's always going to be some tension, and realizing, and I've said this several times to you, realizing that there's always going to be tension. What you have to do is work through the tension and get to the other side of it. How you reach consensus, how you work with each other, even if you're you won't always have votes that are 7-0. You may have some that are 4-3 or 5-2 or whatever. You're aiming for that, but working through that to get to the other side. And as you get more experience in doing that, in trusting each other, and not holding on to things that you didn't feel you won on or whatever, you get stronger, and you get a chancellor in the position who stays. If you get consistency in that position, develop that relationship you have had as a goal in these 4 years anyway. Now, I want you to recall that when I came to you, you didn't have any goals. So you have made huge strides, and you've been keeping up. We've been checking mid-year on the goals and really working on those. So I think you're in a good place, although sometimes it may feel to you as though you're not. You know the behavior you need to exhibit. You know the relationships you're supposed to have with each other. It's just a matter of continuing to work hard on that, developing the relationship. And as you get a new chancellor, to establish those goals, you have here as a goal to form a relationship with the chancellor that works for the district. Because when there's tension between and among you as a board that's unresolved, when there's not a good relationship between the chancellor and the board, the entire organization suffers. You know all of that. And I think you know how to not make the whole organization suffer. And you have to do the things that you know are right. It's an act of your will. It's all an act of your individual wills, and it becomes the collective will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Holly, any additional questions or comments on this, folks? VP Quinlan.
Yes, on, still on number 4 around, on C, ensure development and implementation of a cycle for regular review and revision of all board policies. So I was going through our board policies, and I was kind of astonished to discover some of them. Do you know we have a board policy that we're supposed to meet at all 4 campuses every year? I mean, I was kind of shocked to see that, and we certainly haven't done any work on that one. And a lot of them are, 2009, 2010, 2011 dates. So we've kind of dropped the ball on C and implementing board policies that parallel the changes that have happened in the district over the past 10, 12, 13 years now. So
Yeah, and
there's a way for us to take those up.
And my understanding, whenever we talk about this one, it's been on here from the beginning for 4 years. My understanding, and someone can probably speak to this on the staff, is that you do have a person designated and you have a calendar with a schedule. Is that not right, Trustee Delphine Polk? And you have a subcommittee, a board subcommittee on policies. Am I remembering that correctly?
Not since I've been here.
Not since, but I thought there was a group working with, and I can't remember his name. And I know him well. He works over at
Dr. Belensky.
Dr. Belinsky. I thought that was his project. But you should have a calendar that divides all those board policies up and which semester you're going to go through those. And for example, remember we updated the one on hiring the chancellor because it was not in alignment with the actions that were taken. And it sounds as though it's the same problem with the one you just mentioned, Trustee Lewis, and then they all need to go through that review and you update it, you start doing it, or you change it to reflect what you do. But somebody needs to be responsible for making sure those are scheduled for review every 3 to 5 years.
Thank you.
I thought that was happening.
So Dr. Drucker has her hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. We do have faculty reassigned to that project. Dr. Belansky termed out, and now it is Heather Cisneros from Laney College. And she does have a schedule, and she makes sure we're doing the 7-year review, and that comes through the process. We work with Sasha and the chancellor, and then our shared governance process.
Thank you, Dr. Drucker. VP Quinlan.
Yes, I'm more than willing to volunteer as a board member to work on that project also. Take responsibility from the board side of it.
Yeah, I'll talk to Dr. Drucker. You and I can talk to the chancellor about an ad hoc committee for that.
Sure. I just want to point out, we do have an AP on policy review, and so we do follow that.
Well, there needs to be evidence of that. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and talk about this. We can discuss this with Chancellor Jackson. I think it's really important to do that policy review because I know that's come up in the last couple of meetings with regards to some of the board policies as well. So I'll do that as soon as I can. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, VP Quinlan. Any additional comments or questions, colleagues? And seeing none? Yep, go ahead, Trustee Reese.
Dr. Benjamin, I know that you included the facilities portion here, and thank you for doing that.
Oh, yeah, that came up in the
Our last
discussion.
meeting. Yeah, the
Okay.
discussion.
Mhm.
Because it's such an urgent and important part where really not enough has happened, can we make that even more? Can we strengthen that even more so? And I don't even know if it needs to come back to us, but I just feel like, I don't want to speak for the board, but I do feel like there's a common desire to make that strong. Shuita doesn't.
No, I agree. I believe the last meeting, we all decided that the word expect wasn't as strong as we needed for that.
Oh, okay.
We landed on, but we did say we preferred a stronger word. So yeah.
So you want that in D? So we have facilities mentioned. D is E okay? In 6E? And you want D strengthened?
Yes.
So do you want it to say something like receive monthly reports on, do you want it that
I think
strong or?
No, I think we based it similar, based it on the 90-day report that we started, something similar to that, where because we had the 90-day urgency, we would like to continue on that sort of path to ensure that certain things are not being, not to say swept under the rug, but just unnoticed.
Yes, definitely. And then more. Like I think we want evidence. We want more evidence that things are really happening. And I don't know how to make that come across in this.
Okay, I'm writing it where you can't see it. I'll read it to you in a second.
I'm not sure if you're aware, Dr. Benjamin, but VP or Vice Chancellor came up with the 90-day report where we had what's urgent, what date we plan on having it done, what date we did end up doing it done, if anything is wrong, what the delay is, and how long and how much money it will cost extra. That was brand new. That was set up maybe a couple of months ago, months or two.
Okay.
We all agreed
Okay.
like something like that. If you like something stronger, but I think that was.
I think if I recall correctly, that conversation was as a result of the 90-day plan, because we thought it to be incredibly helpful to see where the projects were on what timeline that they're on. And so I think that's how this discussion came to be. So what I've understood it to be under E especially is receive substantial quarterly reports on the status of facilities, projects, and issues. And I see that report happening every quarter. So I
Okay.
think, would that suffice for folks? That's how I understood it, please.
Or may
correct
I
me if I'm wrong.
ask, do you have something written on your paper that you could share with us and see if we like that better?
Yes, I'm going to read it in a second.
Okay.
All right. What I wrote was continue. It sounds as though you received this. Continue receiving 90-day reports on facility maintenance across the district to include the status of each project with evidence to support completed projects. Something like that.
How do you all
Because
feel about
you're wanting to know that it's done.
We want to know that it's finished, correct? Is that what I'm hearing from folks? Okay. Can you read it again, Dr. Benjamin?
Continue. You are receiving those, right? Or
We
did you
received
receive
this.
only one?
It wasn't a
received
routine
one.
process. It wasn't a routine process, brand new.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
implementing this as a
Yes.
routine process. Yes.
Okay, so let's see. I almost want to say routinize, but you wouldn't do that. I had continued receiving 90-day reports on facility maintenance maintenance across the district to include the status of each project and evidence to support completed projects or to support
support completion.
with evidence, just with evidence. And I guess, I don't know if that's photographic or what, but whatever the Vice Chancellor would want to share.
Yeah, whatever that would entail. Are we good? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trustee Gonzalez.
I'm looking at what is item D, and it says expect that district facilities are maintained. And I'm thinking, what if we said expect and require with urgency that district facilities are maintained in a manner? It's just like, yeah, we can expect it. Of course, we all expect it. And by the way, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody here, okay? I recognize that people are working and trying to figure it out. There are reasons that we can't get it figured out, but I think as a board, we need to actually require it and not simply expect it. And that there needs to be some level of urgency injected into this, because I think for the faculty and the staff and the students who experience and the administrators who experience the breakdown of the norms of facilities, they experience with some urgency. So what do you think about expect and require with urgency that district facilities are maintained?
Do you think that-
I recorded that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. VP Quinlan, is
Does that work for colleagues?
that okay?
Thank you.
It's good? Okay.
I still want to add the quarterly portion, so a time schedule in there.
It's under E. Yep.
Ah,
It-
then yes.
Okay, thanks. VP Quinlan, go ahead.
So part of the issue with this is, if people remember from our budget discussions, the district lost $4 million in repair money to the state. They pulled it back. 7 million. So that, that is going to impact, because we can't use bond money for maintenance work. And I think it's out of this, it's part of this discussion, but it's not part of the board goals, is if we could get some kind of report on how that's going to impact our ability to make repairs, and whether the board needs to try and find another source and the district needs to find another source to make those repairs. So I
Well,
mean,
that,
other
yeah, that
discussion-
would fall generally under E, I think, on the issues part.
We could, yes, and we can explicitly say that as well, like if there's any funding that would impact our maintenance of facilities. Is that what you're looking for, VP Quinlan? Or something else?
that I think realistically, we're going to have to replace that $7 million if we're going to do some of the maintenance work that needs to be done. And if there's some way we can incorporate that into our board goals as a district, try and figure out a way to, there's people here that know more about that than I do, but we can't just accept the loss of $7 million and the repair work that $7 million was going to do.
I think it would be good to have it under, we could have that reported to us under projects and issues. I would be okay with that, with the understanding that if and when that there is large losses or gains with regards to maintenance money, then we could include that as part of a board presentation. VP Gonzalez-Wen, that's your hand.
I'm trying to remember, Trustee Quinlan, you just said we can't spend bond money on maintenance. Is that a function of ed code or is that a function of the bond language? I see our Vice
IVC
Chancellor.
Smith, go ahead.
On schedule maintenance, no, you cannot. You can make repairs though. So you have to understand how to strategically use your funds to make key repairs. A way to really understand being able to use your bond funds is to know, am I going to do this next year? If you're going to do it again next year, you cannot use your bond funds. If you're doing it one time, you can use bond funds. So it's really an understanding of what funding is available to you. Are you going to use RDA funds, which is, you understand what I'm saying?
Okay, so this is a bond council question and a sort of a language question, as well as what are we actually doing?
Well, I think it is, for the goals, is to understand how do you use your funds in the best way.
Yeah.
Is it schedule maintenance? Is it redevelopment funds? Is it bond funds or restricted funds? So when you understand how to use those funds, you can get these things done.
So I think the other thing that we as a board need to be thinking about, because we're the political arm of this institution, is when we think about the coming election, we have talked about going to the public for bond support for housing. It may also be incumbent upon us to go back to the public for parcel tax support for ongoing routine maintenance type things. So I think we just need to think more aggressively about this problem and how not to just hand it to the administration alone, but as to really solve this as a political question, as well as an administrative question.
If you go to Board Goal 3, Fiscal Affairs, C, I think that's where this one comes in. overseeing the facilities bond and prospect program to ensure compliance with stated goals by receiving detailed updates on bond spending, construction projects, etc. That's general, but I'm assuming you receive regular reports on that. But Trustee Gonzalez-Nguyen, you're saying become more involved in that.
I think this is a deeper discussion that we don't have time for right now. But I
Does
think
that
maybe
cover it though? Does C kind of cover what you're saying?
I think the section that we've got where the down on 6D and is sufficient for the moment. And I think that as we come back and get our next quarterly report, then maybe we can hear from the administration, okay, here's where our budgets are falling short. You know, and we can understand better why we're failing in these areas. Why are we struggling in these areas? And then we can attend to that and do what part we can as a board.
Yep. Trustee Reese, go ahead.
And Dr. Benjamin, I think the one item that might be missing, and we discussed it, was the regular updates or presentations on bond projects. Is that somewhere that I'm not seeing?
Well, I think I tried to put it in that one I just read on fiscal affairs, bond spending, C.
Yes, you're exactly right. Sorry. Okay.
3C.
Yep, perfect.
Are you good with that language, Trustee Reese? Okay, great. Thumbs up. So in terms of next steps, Dr. Benjamin, I'm getting some questions up here from my colleagues about what our next steps are with this.
So you can approve this tonight. I think it's on as an action item with the changes.
I move approval as amended through our discussion tonight of these board goals.
Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Withrow. VP Quinlan for discussion.
So I would not feel comfortable voting on this until I saw the final language that's going to be in there. I
withdraw my motion.
I can make these, clean it up, take all the corrections out, and you can have it back on next time if you like.
Okay, and then we'll be sure to agendize this as an action item as well. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Benjamin.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. B.
Thank you, Dr.
All righty.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, colleagues. Okay, let's go ahead and move to 4.2, the Clery Act. And this is IVC Smith. And I believe Director Thomas is here as well.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Peralta colleagues. Every year we come to the board and we report the Clery Act. Last year, we were able to come in the first board meeting in October. And again, we're coming to the first board meeting in this October. It is asked that we file in November. So we are right on time and ahead of the game. So I would like to present or introduce Executive Director of Public Safety, Tim Thomas, so that he can go over the Clery Act, the importance of the Clery Act, and how many items we have to report on in public safety. Director Thomas.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy Chancellor, Dr. Joker, Board President.
Director Thomas, can you get closer to the mic? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Appreciate it.
Good evening.
Be sure to hear you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Deputy Chancellor Joker, Board President, Board, College Presidents, community guests, and students. Today, we're going to talk about this evening, Clery. I know some of the board members are new, so we're going to talk just a little brief, give you a brief description on Clery this evening. Slides. Slides, please. All right, Clery Act. Clery is a really important tool that's used, before I get into the story of Clery, It really gives us an understanding and a disclosure on criminal incidents that occur on our campuses. And how this act started was that there was a young lady who was going to school. Her mom and her dad was taking her to school, and they was dropping her off at this nice institution. And when they dropped off at this institution, she went to a few parties and things happened at the college, and they were unaware of some of the activities that were going on at this particular institution. However, during that time, April 5th, 1986, the young lady was brutally raped and subsequently murdered. One of the main things that came out of this case from the mom and the dad is that if we had known that these incidents were occurring at this college, we would have maybe had an opportunity to maybe not choose this institution. So with that coming out, Clarity Find, it gives us opportunity, and we look at timely. We look at Clarity. Clarity doesn't talk about timely. It gives us a time to protect others. And so when we talk about time and response, that's what they're meaning when we're looking at Clarity, giving us an opportunity on a purpose to protect people and themselves during an incident. And so when you look at the PowerPoint, Campus One kind of talks about in and out in the geographical areas where our students congregate or use those pathways we have to report. And Campus Two is any building or property that is reasonably contagious with our area identified or owned by our institution also gives us the reporting that we have to go out. This is a mandate with the Department of Education. Next slide, please. I'm going to highlight, in the sake of time, I'm going to highlight just a few of the bases of Clarity Act. Some of the things we look at on the bullet point that we do every single year is the ASR production distribution notification list. This year we beat it. We did a great job with Executive Mark Johnson, so I thank him and his team for getting that out in a timely response to our community and also to our students. Also, safety, timely warnings, and emergency notifications. And I just want to spend just a little time here because I want to tell the difference between the two when we start looking at these things. When we look at emergency notification gives us an understanding that something is happening. There is an immediate threat to a situation on our campus that may involve health and safety to our students and employees. During that time, once we have pertinent facts, it gives us time to get the information out to our stakeholders, which is college administration. Again, when we go back and look at timely notifications, we look at Clarity, those are level 1 threats that are not timely, which means it does not give us a timely purpose when we're looking at getting information out to our community. So there is a difference between timely and emergency notifications. Also looking at here, crime logs. The crime laws are a generated master log that are kept at the Public Safety Department to go over when we look at computing data, to look at evidence base on measuring crime on the reportable Clarity acts that we report yearly. Next slide, please. Now here's our safety alerts. Here's just a outline on the transparency when we have an incident that occurs on our college. Here is the guidelines and the step 1, 2, 3 continuum that we send out to our colleges when we have an incident. And basically, when we have an incident, a report is generated to college administration. At that particular time, now we activate our care teams and we disseminate that report to those folks who have knowledge, expertise in that area that might be able to give our student those available resources on our campus. It is a way we're looking at holistically involving Clarity, but also activating some of the emergency notifications and also notifications that I'm speaking on this evening. Next slide, please. Timely warnings. Again, this is the second highlight of a timely warnings. Again, we want to make sure that we have these warnings that get out to our community. We've just looked at a system called RAVE that gives us a real robust system that gives us the indicators and timely to get out to our staff with one platform. And so it makes it easier for me and our PIO to get messages out once we get into our emergency procedures. Next slide, please. Reportable Crime Clarity Act. A lot of the times when we look at Clarity and we look at reportable crimes, when we send out a monthly report sheet, a lot of times, staff asks me when we're doing these reports, they say, some of these crimes on here are not Clarity. and they're not. When we send out our monthly report sheets to the college administration, one of the things is that we're trying to test the climate of what's actually going on the campus. And what I always say to my staff is we're trying to be effective crime managers on how we locate and pinpoint crime by using our tools that we use at public safety. And so when we look at the reportable crimes, here are the 4 listed reportable crimes on the slide. And when we look at the offenses, some of the ones that stand out that are really important this evening is the Volvo offenses. And that was an act that came in part by President Obama when we start looking at dating relationships, domestic violence, and stalking. And these are now reportable crimes that we have to report when we have a report from a student that involves any of these categories. Next slide, please. The realities of crime is here at Peralta, we've kind of figured out something. And one of the things we figured out is how we can be an effective crime manager. How can we use reliability, visibility, customer service, right, and patrolling, all of tools to look at a crime reduction. And as Mr. Michael said, frankly, it's a crime, it's not a problem that can be solved, whether it is a condition that must be managed. And the people on the ground have been able to manage where crime is occurring by putting people in those time frames where we've seen preventative measures bring down crime. So we thank the young men and women that are out there on our campuses helping us with those goals and pushing and driving that process. Next slide, please. Safety training. Just want to highlight a few things. We came to the board about a year ago and we didn't have a plan in place when it came to safety. And we wanted to be able to come with some of the completions on how hard we've been working in the field nonstop during college breaks to really get these numbers up, not only with staff, but also with our health and safety groups at the colleges, our student bodies. So there's a lot of people to thank that have participated in these trainings. And so we wanted to show some of the numbers that highlight these trainings. One of the most important trainings that we highlight here is CPR, first aid, AUD. And coming after September, we realized September is National Preparedness Month. And we know that if we do have an emergency, one of the main things that are going to save lives is having someone that can save yours. And so we took a real aim initiative to really push out CPR first aid with all of our health and safety teams, all of Marina personnel. They also ran red bags that also have first aid, breathing barriers, all those things in there. So if ready, accessible, if needed, and a person was to go into cardiac arrest, we could perform emergency operating procedures to make sure we try to save that person. We also know that during an active shooter, that you might be in a room with a security, or you might be in a room with someone that is trained. So we were promoting and pushing and driving the process that this is really important. We've seen the increase in training at the colleges. So I thank the college leadership for collaborating with us, with their staff. We plan to get out more to the staff. Last year we came to the board, we talked about the 3 E's: engage, empower, equip. And we are engaging our staff and our faculty. We're engaging safety, we're driving the process. And we want to be able to show some of moving on the slides on some of the highlights from our safety. Next slide, please. Flip charts emergency operations plan. We have updated in the process along with KSL, our emergency operation plan. These are flip charts that you grab during an emergency. And when you grab during an emergency, these flip charts, you get out to your location, your designated location, and you're able to have the numbers applicable in front of you. These numbers have been updated. We're excited about that. So we thank all the folks who helped us with this task. And we hope to have those out and later this fall at all the colleges with new emergency operations plan. Next slide, please. Safety and Badging Day, great event. This is part of when we came to the board a few months ago. We talked about having a plan where we make safety a part of everyone's job. A campaign message that we could involve everyone and engage everyone, to have them come out and be a part of something. But where do we start? And so we started with taking nice, fancy photos. That's right, folks. A lot of people hadn't took photos in a long time, so they came out and got photos. We got a chance to engage with faculty and students. We also promoted our health and wellness programs throughout our community. We also got a chance to touch bases with folks who had safety needs that wanted to talk about safety on the campuses. You see just a box there, you see we had a flex day, and we talked about safety and security strategies on flex day. We had a great turnout. We got some great valuable information, and that was hosted with Dr. Thompson. So we thank her for her help as well doing that, and our team. We got some great numbers, and so we'll share a few of those numbers at the end of the slide. Next slide, please. Merritt College Safety Day, and there is just a video out on the web currently right now with me and President Johnson, and it just kind of highlights the fun that we were having interacting with our students, of us up in the quad, talking with faculty and staff, engaging, talking about safety, and it was a great time. I would like to thank the Administration of Justice program for collaborating with us. It was really fun talking to our students and trying to restart that program. Next slide, please. Merritt College, just kind of an update on Merritt College. We had some areas of concern on Merritt, and we collaborated with DGS to meet those concerns involving pathways of unlighted conditions. Took a walk up at Merritt, and we felt that there was time for us to put in these areas of concern mass vertical lighting. So collaborated with DGS to get those lights up there exigently to the staff to give them a sense of safety. After walking the campus, it felt well lit on pathways. You were able to see, and we've been getting some great feedback. So thank you, IBC Smith, for working with us to get those lights up there exigently. Next slide, please. Here's Laney. We had some, and this was all based on, we came to the board a few months ago, and we talked about some of the safety and lighting issues that our students had put on input. Upon coming here in 2021, one of the main things that stood out reading the reports that our students had originally stated was building overhang in parking lots was a concern. And so we targeted and tasked these particular areas of concern that we felt really matched the data that was given on the surveys, but also the areas where the bulbs were out. And so we've worked with the colleges to ensure that we can provide adequate lighting on our pathways that our students travel during night classes and after hours for our security personnel. Next slide, please. Camera update. This is, we're finally getting there to the cameras. We have most of the cameras installed. As you can see on the list, the cameras that are not installed are power issues, and we're working with DGS to address those. We realize that there are going to be some challenges to that on the cameras, on the power issues, but we're working with DGS to address a timeline that we can close out the camera project and also our IT department on the cameras. The surplus cameras will be delivered to public safety, and we will look at different strategy areas that are blind spots on our campus to look at a phase 2 of the camera installation moving forward. Next slide, please. And here we are at the Clary reportable acts. Here are the 18 reportable Clary numbers. And I would like to say, every time I look at these numbers, sometimes I get a little bit excited because I know the hard work of the men and the women that were out there on the ground doing these trainings. People ask why we were doing so many trainings. We wanted to provide evidence base. We wanted to show you where we were, and we wanted to show you where we are now. And so when you look at some of the numbers, one of the numbers really stand out to me a lot. And it's the last category on reportable clarity, and it says arrest made. And as you can see, there aren't any arrests that are made. Now, when you look at crime and you look in any neighborhood and you went anywhere, you ask someone, how did you bring down crime? The first thing someone would say is, there's a punitive section and someone was arrested. A lot of people were arrested. So crime moved from one place to another. So we didn't bring down crime. It just moved to one location. But here at Peralta Community College District, we want to be happy about what we done. Because see, we just didn't just move crime. See, we worked in the community with our outreach. We were at the tables with the city council. We had presentations. We were working with our safety and security teams. We were giving them a message of safety. We were driving a process. We were training when people were on vacation. We were here when the college was closed, and et cetera, and I can keep going. We have driven safety and have taken safety to another level. With security that we have with our district that have worked collaboratively with me to reduce these numbers. And I want to quote in closing our fearless leader, Dr. and Chancellor Jeanette Jackson. She said to me in a private meeting when I was baffled in the face and I was trying to figure out how to accomplish something with no plan, no book, no one had done it, is that our challenge is to maintain our commitment to campus safety and wellness, while at the same time creating a safe and secure environment. With Dr. J, we did it. Next slide, please. As you see the reduction in those numbers, usually when we look at safety, we don't see reductions over 50% in those numbers. But what you can see starting at larceny, you can see the theft cut in half. You can see the burglary. You had over 21 burglaries, and those are people and things that were going on throughout our community that we've been able to put a decrease in and a reduction in numbers. We went from 21 to 3. You look at auto theft, we went from 8 to 2. In some of these categories, and when you get to arson, we were the #1 community college in Northern California with the most arson on our campuses. Looking at some of these tasks, we had to do community engagement. We had to work with the colleges to bring that number down. I want to thank Director Amy Marshall. We realized that it was flammable garbage cans that were causing the arson on our campus. We eliminated those flammable garbage cans, went with a different garbage can on our campuses, and we saw that number drastically come down. Those are different innovative security measures that we put in place that really brought our clarity numbers down. And again, last but not least, looking at the arrests made, it is 0. When we look at a holistic model meaning that we're training our own people, but not only training our own people, we understand how to handle our own issues when in case if we have them. And so we're showing evidence-based here at Peralta of being part of something very different, something very special. When you look at not only reduction in crime, but look at community engagement and programming, and we realize that some of these programs that we have instituted here at Peralta with the collaboration of Marina Security, that this is what you get, this is what you see. So I'm happy to present these numbers to the board to take a look at on our reduction in totals. Next slide, please. Here's the survey results. Some of the most important feedback you would get from here, and one of the main things is the 2 most important questions. Overall now, do you feel safe on campus or district office? And you can see here, the results tell for itself. People feel safe. When we look at the survey a few years ago, it wasn't this. It was different. And so we are engaging that community. We're showing evidence-based. We're showing that a holistic model can work if people are all working together to promote safety in a healthy and wellness environment. If you look at question number 2, when you look at the certain times of day when you feel safe, you see that after 8 p.m., people feel unsafe. So we've addressed some of those issues with lighting. As you can see, escort patrol, as we send out our monthly report sheets to college administration to let them know that we are engaging, we are visible. We're making sure that our students can get from class from one point to another if it's called upon. And so safety, looking at our numbers, we are improving and we are getting better. Next slide, please. In closing, are there any questions?
Go ahead. I see Trustee Withrow's hand up. Go ahead. Thank you, Director Thomas.
Thank you for the presentation and thank you for the enclosure. It was a tremendous enclosure, 157 pages, but it was a lot of meat there. Have you started building or at least considered building an app so that our students, faculty, and staff can put it in their phone so that if something comes up, they can punch in and get guidance and telephone numbers or who to do what and how?
Yes, sir. That system that you're talking about is Rave. It's a really robust system, and it gives us the capability to get messages out simultaneously within seconds. Just a few weeks ago, we were testing it, training on a simulated lockdown over at Laney, and we were getting messages out within a minute. So we feel that once we have the processes in place, that system will give us all the capabilities that you're describing.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Colleagues, go ahead, Trustee Gonzalez.
Director Thomas, thank you very much for the report and for your work. I think those of us who've been on the board for a while understand that you came in a period of transition without a lot of resources and had to rebuild some stuff from the ground up. So thank you for that work. And I know it's not been difficult. I mean, it's not been easy. It's been difficult work. I'm wondering, as you do this report, how this integrates with the other components of what the board has asked for in this transition. As you know, we transitioned away from an armed police presence, and that was a really big deal for us. Part of it had to do with a bigger critique of Alameda County Sheriff's Department, which at the time had the leadership that it had. I don't need to go into that. Part of it had to do with an overall atmosphere in which an African-American man had been brutally murdered by the police department. And there was a strong national kind of call to conscience that we do policing differently, that we take a different approach. We asked for one thing initially, and that was, let's transition away from armed policing. Okay, so we're doing that. But then we adopted a community health and wellness program. We asked for more community engagement and so forth. Now, on the one hand, you've had to just rebuild the basic infrastructure of sort of like, can we stop bad stuff from happening right away? Okay, good. And on the other hand, you've had this other charge that I'm not seeing in this report. And I'm just wondering, is it that you think of that in an entirely different realm? And so it's not part of this report and it would be elsewhere? Or is it that you haven't had the resources to do it? Can you help the board understand what you're facing and what progress you've made in that other realm as well? And I do not mean to take away from the progress that you have made, but I'm also looking for progress in that other area. Do you have thoughts about that you could share?
Yes, trustee. So I'm really happy about the holistic and wellness board because it's really unique of working with so many colleagues throughout the district. One of the main things I'm happy about, we have now a generated draft on what our purpose is and moving forward. And we understand what a vision is. As when I came here with Marine Security, we came with a vision. We just didn't make this up. So we now have a vision for our group. We're working together to solicit different things that have worked throughout the Bay. Also working together on different health and wellness speakers and things that we can use from our internal group, which we've had some great talks and discussion. Highlight Ms. Susan Yee over at Laney did a fantastic job with kind of guiding us in her expertise in some of the areas of some of us didn't know. And so being able to work with people that on this group that have the expertise and be able to bring it all together to the groundwork we are doing is kind of bringing it all together. So we're getting there. We're meeting. It's just taking us some time, as in anything. And so we think, moving forward, we'll have everything that we need to bring everything together with our holistic team and also the groundwork that's already being done.
I think when the board chose to terminate the contract with the Sheriff's Department, some of us may have had the idea that some of the resources that had been going to pay for an armed presence could be invested into that part of the work. You know, you have people on our campuses who are participating. If they're just doing it all out of the goodness of their heart, they've got no resources, then the work goes very slowly. When you resource the work, it goes faster. And I don't know whether that's the issue in terms of the slowness of the kind of the build out of it. And I'm just one board member, and of course I don't direct you at all. This is up to your boss and to you to figure it out. But I'll just say that I personally would love to see members of that committee come with you to talk about what that work looks like, what it is that we need to really fulfill that promise. Because I think our vision as a board, and let me just speak for myself and not try to speak for my colleagues. My vision is that we move to a situation where it's not simply the absence of crime, but the presence of wholeness and health, where we are moving to be in balance. You've got a slide in here that says crime doesn't go away, basically. And what I'd really like to see is that we as a community actually make that not true, that we as a community could figure out how to solve it. And I think there are so many people here who want that kind of help. So again, you know, you've given an excellent report, and I'm hoping that in the future we can see that built out. And again, thank you for your efforts.
Yes, Trustee, that is my goal as well, sir. So we hope to come back and give you some other great news with that committee.
All right, thank you.
VP Clement.
Yes, thank you for the report. It was pretty amazing, especially considering what the rest of our community's been going through with crime and violence lately. The question I have focuses on, I don't want it to focus on cost, but I would like to know the cost difference between what we're doing now and what we did before. And the reason I'm asking this, because to me, what we're attempting to do it here, Peralta, with your leadership, is a big change and a big answer to what many communities across this country are asking for. And I imagine this is more expensive because we have more people on the ground here on the campuses doing more types of things. And what is the possibility, you know, given our economic situation, of trying to go after some funding and building this out as a model that can be used across the state and maybe across the country?
Trustee, that is a great question. I get excited about it when I hear that because as people have been watching this model, and I've been getting these questions from different colleges who have been watching how our numbers have been reduced. One of the main things when they call and actually ask, what are we doing? Originally, sir, and when we looked at the original security model, a different threat assessment was done. I was looking at things from a different model when I was on the campuses, and that had to be done in the daytime, the evening, and also late night at the colleges, because you have to get a chance to feel how the college feels. Every college throughout Peralta Community College has a different feel, a different heartbeat. It's not the same. And so from a security standpoint, you want to be able to feel that, and you want to be able to feel the unsafeness. So that means you have to put yourself in those situations that are unsafe on the colleges, on the campuses, in those particular areas, so that you understand what it feels like first. Secondly, then being able to address those situations based on numbers. And coming in, we didn't have numbers, we had high numbers. So we had to look at evidence-based and trust our tools that we have in place that will reduce that number. And we did. And then we had to look at training, because if you're looking at someone that is, for an example, teaching a young man or young woman how to do shoplifting, you have to teach them how to identify. What does it look like? What does prohibited behavior look like when a person is in the commission of a crime? All those things come into that. And then looking at how we address some of the issues here in the city of Oakland to some of the preventative measures, which is having to add more security to our parking lots, because we know that we're in the #1 city in America when it comes to vandalism of vehicles and also stolen vehicles. As Oakland is to about 40 stolen vehicles a day. So we understand that it's going to take more personnel to have consistent visibility in those areas to reduce those numbers. We, as I tell my staff, we have to go on the moral choice of having someone there at that time and give a person that moral choice that they're going to commit a crime. We're going to have you, going to be here. And so that element and measurement has worked with us. I think the modelment of, to answer the last question to how special this is we want to be able to show it. We want to be able to show the tools and the things that we've used that we think might be able to help our sister colleges around and be able to show that guide to that as how we built it and using that. And I think that strategy will save down the road colleges money when you look at safety. You know, I think the main point is when we look at holistic and security and police on campus, there's a higher number of having active shooter with armed personnel. And that is a data from the CIA, and we can look at, entertain that. Without armed personnel, the number goes down. So the data is very interesting, looking at from that standpoint, but there are costs, and I always say when you look at safety, and I like to, everywhere I've been when it comes to safety, when we talk about parking permits and students parking on campus and parking being too high, we can't put a price on safety. And that is a testament to, safety, is that there's no price on it. And so I would tell you, like a coworker told me, she told to me, keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is safety. And we want to drive that.
Thank you, Director Thomas. Trustee Reese, Dr. Joker, do you have something?
Just to address the
Sure.
second part of Vice President Quinlan's question, both the Chancellor and Executive Director Thomas have been working with our state and federal advocates on alternative policing models for extra funding. So far, we've tried to get some earmarks. The Congress people have been very supportive, but that hasn't come through yet. But that work continues, and I'm really impressed with the proposals that Executive Director Thomas and the Chancellor put through.
Thank you, Dr. Joker. Thank you. Trustee Reese.
Thank you, Director Thomas. These questions are so important. They're really, really important. I'm so glad we're posing them. But I believe that it's independent from this particular agenda item. And I think we're having you answer questions that you may not be prepared to answer. So two things. One, unless they're questions to the Clary Act, we probably shouldn't be asking them. But then I would also redirect to Deputy Chancellor Droker, if we can have a Chancellor and Director Thomas come back to us with an update regarding our resolution and where we are in terms of funding, where we are in terms of implementation, all of that stuff. But this does not have to do directly with our action item, which is the Clary Act. So maybe we should just vote on this or
appreciate
discussion.
you. Thank you. Trustee Johannes.
Yeah, so again, like everyone has said, thank you so much for this in-depth report. I truly appreciate the safety training as far as internally, meaning within Marina and extending it to Peralta. At the same time, having the reports that are timely. As someone who at one point, well, I'm still a young woman, at one point was a younger woman, not quite on campus, but on military posts, because that's where I spent my time. It would have been wonderful to have something that would tell me immediately something is happening versus only the higher ups knowing about it. And then I find out on Monday morning that the same place that I was in, someone else got attacked. So that's something that I think is very relieving of sorts. And just within that, just one question to piggyback off of Trustee Withrow's question regarding the RAVE, that's the program, right?
Yes.
Is that opt-in or is it mandatory?
No, it's opt-in. And one of the main things is Dr. J, I met with her and I told her that I was looking at a system and she wanted to see it and we talked about it. And the great thing about this system is that it was free. And we had paid about $30,000 for a system. And I understand the cost-effective savings that we were going through, and wanted to get out there and find out what some of the other colleges were doing. I was at a couple of seminars and had some partnerships with San Francisco City College, and we had a good time playing with it. And I fell to a liking of it and wanted to ask, how much is it? And he said it's free. So we ended up going through the process of bringing that system here. So
So, I was gonna add something in a moment. Well, thanks. I would campaign to have everyone be forced to have that on their device or what have you, just so they can be aware and not feel as though they're not in the know. And there was one last thing I was gonna add, so I may just jump back in at some point, but thank you. Oh, yes, again, it was another thanks, just saying that it's amazing to be able to bring down the level of crime while not making the students, faculty, staff feel as though they are suspects at the same time without having, some sort of armed guards of sorts. So thanks.
thank you.
Okay. Are there any additional questions before we move to a vote? Let's go ahead and may I have a motion to approve this Clary Act presentation in action?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Withrow. Second.
Second.
Thank you, VP Quinlan. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Student trustee Masson,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napola Villeries,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and thank you, Director Thomas. Let's move to our action items. 9.1, consider adoption of resolution 2324-102.
Move
There-
approval.
Oh, thank you very much, Trustee Withrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Trustee Reese. Any discussion? Would you like to give a quick update, ABC Smith, on this item?
Sure, we are moving forward, and we have done most of the work to get the compressors going. There's still some exhaust issues that we have to address. But again, we're working with Diablo Plumbing, get things moving, keep things moving, working, and also in the welding shop over at Laney. So there are a lot of moving parts going on in DGS at this time.
Great, thank you. Seeing no discussion, let's go ahead and move to a roll call. Sasha?
Just a clarification, President Polk, this is the resolution item you're approving?
This is 9.1.
Did we approve the consent calendar items already?
Oh, did we not? You were right. I totally jumped ahead of that. I apologize.
That's okay. We can go back to it.
No.
Got to vote now. I just want to make sure that I wasn't.
No, you weren't.
Okay,
I haven't had enough
Great.
coffee today. Let's go to consent. 5.1.
Oh, no, I was going to say, let's finish the, I was going to say, finish
Want
the
to finish
vote.
this one and then
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
consent? Okay, let's do that.
Student trustee Masson,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napola Villeries,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, my apologies, folks. Let's go ahead and move to the consent.
Move consent calendar.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, trustee Reese. Seeing no discussion, let's move to a roll call on consent.
Student trustee Masson,
Yes.
trustee Withrow,
Yes.
trustee Johannes,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Ewan,
Yes.
trustee Napola Villeries,
Yes.
trustee Gonzalez Brito,
Yes.
trustee Quinlan,
Yes.
trustee Delphine Polk.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Did our action. Let's go ahead and move to board reports and announcements. If you have a report, please raise your hand. Trustee Gonzalez Run.
My report is just really brief. I'm glad to be back. Just people know I'm from time to time traveling to care for my mother, who is going to turn 91 next month. I'm kind of excited about that, but she does need a hand from time to time. And so when I can, I go. I took the opportunity to go up in August. So anyway, I appreciate your indulgence in having me online, but I much prefer being here in person. So I'll welcome myself back.
Any additional? Go ahead, VP Quinlan.
I have two items. First of all, I would like to acknowledge and thank our IT help desk. On Monday, I got a call that said my password had been hacked for my email account. They do the dual verification now, and that had stopped it, but they suggested I change my password. They emailed me the procedure, and I quickly flubbed it. And so I called them back, and they called me back and walked me through the process. So I'm very grateful that our help desk is on the ball and saving me countless hours of misery. I don't remember. The second item is on last Friday, I went to the Rising Beyond Bars College and Career Pathways at Laney College, which was sponsored by the Restoring Our Communities organization at Laney and Urban Strategies, which is the Oakland-based organization. And it was an amazing conference. We had presentations from Merritt, COA, and Laney College that had received grants for what were the grants for? The Rising Scholars grants that basically focuses on academic work, dual enrollment, CTE programs, mostly in the juvenile halls. The other thing that was really amazing and I thought just wonderful was the leadership of all those organizations, the Rising Scholars, was students that had come out of prison for the most part, that they had achieved the leadership positions and worked towards the leadership positions on the campuses and providing inspiration to the new people. The other thing that really astounded me was the size of the Restoring Our Communities program. In the spring semester last year, they had 200 students at Laney, and they had 43 students that earned certificates and degrees. And with that kind of work, I mean, to me, that's just amazing work. And I think all those organizations deserve a lot of credit.
Great, thank you. I want to give space for our student trustee to give a presentation as well.
Hello, everyone. I'd just like to share that I've been accepted into the Student Advisory Committee stack with the CCLC, and I've started attending meetings that are held monthly. I attended my first meeting last Friday, and just to share what stack does, they provide support for student trustees in California, community colleges, and provide a space to discuss legislation regarding our schools. Yeah, that's it. I also like to congratulate Dr. Denise Richardson on being president of BCC. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Then the only thing I'll say, I had a great time at office hours last week. I really love Kay's Cafe. It's right next door to BCC, where I used to get coffee before my night classes there. So it's always nice to go step back in time and spend time with students and community outside of BCC. So it's every first Wednesday. The time fluctuates a little bit. Noon seems to be very busy. As we all know, there's a lot of colleges around there. So I will probably be pushing it to later in the afternoon just to allow for some space within the cafe. So you all can find me. So I hope to see you next month. Sure, go ahead, Trustee Reese.
Just a momentary note to acknowledge what's happening in the Middle East. And personally, I grieve with Israel and all that's happening there. We have a very distant 18-year-old Israeli relative, niece, who was at the music festival and was kidnapped by Hamas and is still missing at this particular point. But there are many, many others. And I just grieve for all the innocent victims of the hatred and the casualties of war and the casualties of terrorist violence. So I know that it's on many people's minds, and I just wanted to make sure that we also acknowledged it at the dais.
Thank you. VP Quinlan, I'll hand it over to you for announcements.
Oops, that's the wrong one. This evening's announcements. Fall is free at the Peralta Colleges. Late start classes are available at each of the colleges with 10-week and 8-week. Need to make this bigger. With 10-week and 8-week classes starting in October. Available classes are posted on the college websites. Please visit www.peralta.edu to start the enrollment process. The Peralta Community College District celebrates Latinx Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th. Events have been happening at each of the colleges. Visit the college websites for details on events this week. The community is invited to the tiny home ribbon cutting and advanced manufacturing panel discussion and department tours at Laney College tomorrow evening, October 11th from 5 to 8:30 p.m. College of Alameda's Wellness Center invites you to visit their new space in Cougar Village, CV-124. Learn about services and meet the staff on Wednesday, October 11th from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I believe we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.